It's 9 a.m. on Monday, August 26th. I call the meeting to order for the Anchorage Advisory Committee, and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone, after our hiatus. In the roll call today, we have in attendance Harbor Master Captain Curtis Ludwig, John Wesley Nash, Vice Chair Chris King, I'm Chair Sam Lurie, Ted Lawwell, Ed Schoonover. I'm sailing away already.
Yeah, that's right.
Jim Hockett, and our special guest today, the king of rock and roll on the 4th of July, circa Viva Las Vegas, slim and trim. Elvis has left the mainland and is on the island. Vice Mayor Jim Adderholt.
Must we bow? Is there something?
Just throw hotel room keys.
Okay.
And call for public comment. I don't see any public except council person. I do see possible public. Any public comment today? Seeing none, I'll move to the approval of the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes, or does anybody need a second?
I just have one correction. Under public comment, Councilmember King stated that he and I celebrated our 20th anniversary. That was not what his comment was about. It was about the Anchorage Committee's 20th anniversary. He was the mooring field, I'm sorry, yes. So he was celebrating that and saying congratulations on that 20th anniversary. So whether we just want to strike that or correct it.
Well, we know it's always on his mind, so we can just leave that.
Okay.
And so we'll take the minutes as they are. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, what is the year count for your anniversary?
Well,
Just for the record.
we celebrated 34 years on May 5th.
Much more than 20.
Yes.
Congratulations.
So
Thank
John
you.
wanted full time for credit served.
Yeah.
I guess.
Chairman, I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
A second. Lowell.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Passes unanimously. On to our next item, which is staff reports and updates. Curtis, do you have anything for us today?
Yes, I do. So there's, I've got a few things that we have done and that I need to advise y'all on since we've had a month break and stuff like that. So the first thing I have on my list right now is I just want to advise y'all we are looking into a possible rate increase for the mooring field. Now, it's not official, we're just looking into numbers and stuff like that. We just want to be fair and, in the middle, we've kind of done some research and stuff like that. We're kind of at the cheaper end of it right now, which is fine, but still I want to be kind of in the competitive nature with other mooring fields around. So we have, and it's something that the town is looking into right now. We don't know if we are going to do that or not. It's still it's still being looked at and assessed right now. But
Can
I
I
just want
ask you, Curtis, did you put any more thought into the tiered pricing that Mr. Nash brought up one time, and I think I repeated him about the tiered pricing for the front of the field being more popular than the back of the field?
So, yes, we have looked into that, but we are looking into more just increasing the price just as a whole, just where we're at now. We've thought about doing it by foot and, things of that nature, and that's still in discussion, honestly, but I think if we were going to bump it up, it would be just a rounded number. And I think that's kind of what works best for how the mooring field is set up right now. But like I said, nothing's set in stone right now, we're still in discussion, but,
Ask a question on that. I mean, are you thinking that, Curtis, because you're trying to make sure that you got market level pricing to other mooring fields, or are you thinking that to try to cover our budget and make sure that we're covering the cost of the mooring field through?
it's both,
Okay.
both.
Are we upside down on the
No.
budget?
No, we just want to, that price has been like that. The prices that we have now has stayed the same for, years and years, even through the inflation and stuff like that. So, I think it's, I think it's only reasonable and fair right now. Like I said, again, it's something that we're still talking about and discussing right now. So, I just wanted to advise y'all that it is possible, that it might happen in this next physical year coming up, so.
Curtis, can you confirm exactly what our current rate is?
Yeah, so we charge, $26 a night, and then our monthly rate is $453.53.
So my informal survey that I did up and down the east coast, the west coast, in our area, we're pretty close to what other people are charging at this point in time, although there is a range. So
Correct.
Yeah, I would.
But we're not, and our increase, what we're looking at doing is not gonna be a whole lot,
Yeah.
maybe, for the daily rate, it's gonna increase, $5 or $10 more. We're not talking a
Yeah.
huge increase.
Certainly a $5 raise puts us pretty much in the middle of what
Correct,
we're
yes it
seeing.
does, yes it does.
Right.
We're dead in the middle with, we're not the highest and we're not the lowest or
Right.
anything like that. It puts us right in the middle, so, which I believe it doesn't throw us out of any, competition or, anything like that, so.
Right. Very few places currently do a step up over time, but there are some. Naples, for example.
Correct.
They do a step up, so, of course, as everyone I'm sure will agree, staying competitive
Correct.
is important.
Mr. Chairman? Just to Jim's point, just for the record, for those who might be watching,
Yes, sir.
just historically, the purpose of this organization and the services that we provide, under our charge, it's to be revenue neutral. It's not to generate profits for the town.
Correct.
But at the same time, the town is not necessarily subsidize this operation. It should be self-sustaining. So that obviously should factor into your process, and it sounds like it does. Is that-
Yes.
Just for the record, just want to make sure everybody understood that, who might be watching. Thank you.
And I guess, another consideration is the amount of amenities that we have comparable to some of the other mooring fields. I mean, we want to make sure that we're not trying to overprice ourselves, but we don't have the type of things that other people do. And I know that we have a reasonable amount of amenities right now, so I think that's another consideration.
Yes, of course.
Would this be maybe a calendar year date? Did you have any date in mind to implement this?
No, we're looking at it to see if, we could implement it, moving forward on the next, physical year. So, and this might get pushed back till next year, you know what I mean? It's just what we are, what's best right now and for the budget and everything like that, so.
And we can consider this as the process moves along for changing in facilities and as we progress with that.
Correct, yes. my next item I have is, just give you an update from the, tropical storm, Debbie. We did pretty good down there at the mooring field. I didn't have many boats, come off the balls or, anything like that. The biggest thing that we had is we had to make some repairs, to the, dinghy dock. Just minor stuff, with the high tide coming up, and the flood that we got, some of the brackets we have on the dinghy dock with the high tide rising, it sheared off because two of them are, connected together, but we've been having to make repairs to that dock and kinda keep it going, since I've been here. We have it set pretty good now. But that also, with that being said, our trailer did not flood, thank God. I don't know how that didn't happen, but, so we were all good. So really the biggest issue was the dinghy dock, and that wasn't that big of a deal, really, at all. So, but that has me, going into my next item, which is, we have the new, dinghy dock bid out right now. We just had our meeting last week. So we should be awarding contractor here, within the next, couple weeks. So, we hope that is gonna be, getting underway here in the next, month or two. I would hope. So, and that'll be big, and I also heard that the state is moving forward and taking down that, fishing pier, the old fishing pier that got knocked down, so, I think that's gonna start in the next couple weeks, actually, so I hope to have, that might be down before we start, so everything's kinda aligning nicely right now, so, I was very happy to hear that news.
Curtis, how would that affect, or what is the effect of that in the process of what you're doing? Other than it'd be nice for it to happen at the same time, is currently having that bridge up or having that bridge down, partial bridge, fishing pier, how does it affect, your operations?
For us, it would, it just makes it a little narrow in there. We don't have a lot of room to operate that. Into that fishing pier sticks out right when our dinghy dock starts, right? So the boats kinda have to go around that, it kinda gets in the way, they kinda bounce off of it, coming in and leaving the pier. And it would also give us, kind of some more room down the road, if we wanted to add on to the dinghy dock, which would, be able to give us another section running out, which would help out a lot,
So certainly a definitive advantage when it comes down.
Absolutely.
But during construction, deconstruction, will there be an impact to the boaters who wanna come in to use the existing dinghy dock, or will that?
Yes, so when the construction starts, we're gonna take a section of the dinghy dock that we have now, right, and we're gonna put it at Matanzas Pier alongside there, so that'll be the temporary dinghy dock mooring, and, I've talked with Eddie at Matanzas, he's, over there, they have opened their arms up wide open for us, they help us out a lot, so, I appreciate him and, what they do for us and help us out, and the relationship we have with them over there, so.
Are you just gonna move it, east along the seawall?
No, it's gonna go parallel to their dock
Oh, okay.
forward, yeah, there's a section that we're gonna put it there, so.
At the end of their dock? Or-
Not at the T, but
Okay.
down closest to the bridge side, there's a spot where there's no,
No pilings in the middle there? that we
correct,
can-
and there's no boat slips, it's just open docks, so we're gonna lay one of our dinghy docks up against that, and that'll be the
Shouldn't be
temporary.
any more difficult than it is now. with the tides, actually be a little easier maybe, because it's farther out.
Correct. I mean, you get some current right there, but not anymore. You have to come through that coming in anyways, right? So, I don't foresee it being too much.
And is that just temporary? Is that just a temporary spot for that?
Correct,
Dig it
until
up?
we get the dinghy dock built, the new one, built.
And then
So
what will you do with this old dock?
we're going to keep them in case, for future stuff down the road, you know. If we can put that somewhere else down the island for another access, you know. That's kinda what I have.
Maybe we could store it at Mound House
Vision.
while we're waiting to use it.
Yes. Well, we'll figure out where we're gonna store it, but.
No, I mean, and use it.
Correct,
same
correct. But no, we will, yeah, I haven't, we are, we have some ideas that we're kinda discussing of what we're gonna do with that and how we're gonna use it and stuff like that, so. Alrighty, my next item is the pump out boat. We have, done some repairs and some maintenance to that boat. We got the 300-hour service done on that vessel, which was needed. We also purchased a brand new pump, and that's in right now. So everything's running great. Actually, we had a clog this morning that we fixed and everything in the line, so that was kind of worrying me, but we got that. So, I'm cleared and everything's up and running now, so, the pump out boat is in great shape right now, so. And then, the next item I have is our pontoon boat. That's our maintenance boat for the buoys. We have ordered a brand new engine. It's a Yamaha 90 horse for that. That's on order right now. I hope to have that in the next couple weeks, and the repower will take place on that boat. So once we get that back, that's our maintenance vessel. We'll be full board doing maintenance on the buoys. We have already been doing maintenance. We've been clearing the pennant lines and also I'm scraping the balls when we can. We are also looking into contractors to assist us right now to do maintenance for the down lines for the mooring balls and get those maintenance. So all that is starting to progress pretty quickly here. So I'm glad to get it to finally be up and running and doing the maintenance and everything that the mooring field needs. So happy to get on track with that. Alrighty, and then the next item I have is, we also updated, the website. We kinda rearranged it a little bit. We made some links, clickable, our rules, you can click, if you go on there and look, you'll see the changes. I think everything reads a little bit better. It makes it a little bit more, I would say, user friendly for sure. So just whenever y'all get a chance, I would like y'all to go on there and look at it and tell me your thoughts. And
Yeah, I looked at it yesterday, and it does look great. So thanks, Nicole, for upgrading things and breaking things out into more digestible chunks rather than here's everything in one little block. My only one suggestion, and I saw that you added a bunch of links at the very bottom. I'm just wondering, in one of the sections, could you move up that kind of things to do chamber link within that copy so that people can plan their trip or something like that and not have to go down to the bottom to try and find it? but otherwise, I think it's great. I love how you broke out the amenities and the services, and it looks good.
One comment there, and Nicole, it's something that, I'm sure you need to look at and see if it's possible. I still think the page is a bit buried.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if it would be possible to consider a, clickable button on the homepage that says, that will take you, straight to it. And Nicole, I don't recall if you have such a clickable button on your Facebook, landing, but that would be another place I think you should consider having a clickable take you right to, that page, the
Mooring
mooring
field,
page, yeah, mooring field page. You just still find it hard to
It
find.
is. It is. You can get to it from Docwa easy, but otherwise you have to really Google it. Otherwise, it's,
So,
I have no idea where to find it.
so me and Nicole have talked about that. It is something that I have already asked her about, but, I'll let Nicole explain. why.
Just for the record, Nicole Burrs and PIO. Yeah, so we did talk about that. On the Facebook, for example, there's not anywhere that we can put a clickable link just because we already have the town's website directly there. But on the Mooring Field Facebook, I can make sure that the page is linked there.
Yeah, just to correct, that's where I was speaking of.
Oh, okay, perfect. So I'll double check to make sure it's there, because if it is not, it definitely can be put on there, and I'll make
Right.
sure it is. As for the website, when you first go onto the website, you'll see all of those little sand dollars. So we can only have so many of those on the homepage at once. So I'll have to go in and see if there's anything that's not, necessary at the moment to be on there, because I know we have like the special events application, the temporary use application is directly on there. So if there's anything that we're able to currently take off, then I would be able to add that. The only issue is that we can only have so many. So I'll just have to kind of play with it a little bit. But there are ways to make it a little bit more accessible.
Maybe something else to look at is to make those scrollable and make them naturally,
Like a
feed
carousel.
through, like a carousel, excellent point. And, giving you the ability to add several more, if you can think of several more that are interesting. So you know, you go onto the homepage and they rotate.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can look into if our page allows for that.
because I mean, I think right now where it's embedded, the Matanzas mooring field is under things to do. I would never think to find it
No,
there, and
yeah.
even from the committee, I mean, I don't think there's a link to the mooring field page from our AAC committee. I mean,
Okay.
at least I didn't see it,
I
maybe
can
it's
check.
there.
Another very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can check on that too, and if it's not, I'll definitely add it there as well.
If we can't do a sand dollar, would it be appropriate to put it in more than one place, things to do, and maybe under another drop-down?
Yeah, definitely. I can't think of what all of the different drop downs are titled at the moment, but I can definitely put it in more than one place just so that it's a little bit easier to find.
Maybe things to do, and then also in a general one, or
Okay,
wherever
definitely.
wherever you can put, because we can put it as many places.
Yes, we
don't want
can.
it everywhere, but if it could go in a couple, that might help, without a
Definitely.
sand dollar.
I think Bound House has its own sand dollar, doesn't it? So I'm
Yes.
wondering maybe if you could combine town facilities or town something there, and then you could have the Mound House and Bay Oaks, and I don't know.
That's a good idea,
I don't know
yeah.
how people search, so I'm not sure if you can tell the path that people are taking to get to things.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, under things to do, that doesn't seem like the right place that
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would look.
I'd rather see it directly linked, for boaters.
Right.
Boaters that come across the town, they have no idea what the Mountain House is, and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. If you said dockage or mooring field, that would be excellent. Also, on the AAC page, maybe have a direct link to the Facebook,
Okay.
because that's a super good addition that you're added. And then I don't know if you have a direct link to Facebook on the mooring field page. That may be another button that you can
You know, I
consider.
don't think we do. I think it's only on, like I know on the PIO page, there's the links to all of the different social media, but I'll add it to the,
Yeah,
mooring
they're so
field
easy
page
to
as well.
do.
okay. So I will look into all of those things and I'll try to see if I can't, for some reason, get it on the homepage, I can try to make sure that it's in multiple spots, just to make it a little bit easier. Is there anything else? I know we had talked about, doing a pamphlet or a welcome package or anything. If you guys are still interested in that, I can get working on it. It's,
I think we
kind of
really
up to
talked about
you.
it being more digital, and maybe is a doc card, like you said, that would then have a QR code to link people to the appropriate pages. And I mean, I think if you had that and it was available at Matanzas, and then we could give it to the chamber to put in there, you know, the Roxy, I'm not sure where else it would make sense to have it. Maybe at some of the
We would put
dockside
it on
restaurants.
that, or we have our board outside the mooring field, or the dinghy dock, I should say. We could post something in there, which I believe we already have something of that sorts in there. Has a map, shows where the restrooms are and the facilities. We also have all of our amenities on DACWA as well. It lists that, and on the website. So yeah, that is something we can start looking into. Yeah, if they have, say if like some of the restaurants have like a, you know, where people come up and put their business
Right,
cards and
right.
stuff like that, we can do something like that.
Yeah.
Is that what you are?
Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, just a basic, hey, welcome to Fort Myers Beach. If you came here by boat, here are some things to do. It's a card, and then the QR code would take you to wherever we think there's more information about things to do. So to take them to the chamber site, it could take them to whatever makes the most sense. I mean, you guys are boaters. I like boats. I don't have a boat, but you know, you guys would know better what people are looking for when they get to the dinghy dock. What do they want to know, and how do they want to get there?
Well, we have good signage for general information, but if they had something to take with them, if they forget to take a picture of the sign, something to take with them just with the pertinent, stuff like you said, maybe.
Okay.
I think they're looking for restaurants, you know, most of the people, and,
Right.
and, you know, if there was a QR code that you
Right.
could, you know, even the chamber or somebody helped
Ex-
with, to be able to say, these are the restaurants, particularly close.
Yeah, and the chamber has a great
yeah.
site of things to do, broken up by places to eat, places to go, all that sort of stuff. So if you
Maybe
link
it's already
them to that, they could just scroll during all the restaurants. I mean,
Could we put that link on our, well, I guess it's already on the website, but a direct link on our page, right?
yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay,
Put that
okay.
things to do chamber link up higher with the information, and maybe something
it's
about
easier to find.
plan your trip. Here's information about restaurants,
Okay,
shopping,
okay.
necessities.
Nicole, excuse me. Nicole, something else that you may want to reach out to and look at is, I believe at the Women's Club was talking about making a physical welcome to Fort Myers Beach package for new residents.
Okay,
So maybe a flyer in there could be an excellent thing to add.
definitely.
I don't know where they're at in that process, but I know that was something they were talking about doing.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I can reach out to them and see if we put something together, if they can add that.
Mr. Vice Mayor, if we include a link to the chamber, we might be excluding some people. Is there any way we could, I mean, do we have to kind of watch that? I mean, we could put a link to it, but we don't want to exclude people who aren't members.
I think the chamber is all inclusive. I mean, it doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, it's not just members, it's
Right.
just pretty much
Oh,
all
it's
of the island.
information?
Yeah, it
And
is.
members get,
Yeah, and I think the
more
chamber
pronounced.
is probably the safest entity that's all encompassing versus singling out individual restaurants or hotels. So I think probably
so they cover non-members. The chamber it lists, maybe not
The
special
restaurant
ads,
lists
but-
all of the
But they
things,
list,
yeah.
they list the businesses.
I'd have to defer to Chris on that, but
As far as I can tell, I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's got pretty much all the Times Square restaurants, it's got all of, you know, pretty much anything that's open right now on
Okay.
that list,
and
so.
I don't think there's any other entity that collects that information, particularly Fort Myers Beach centric, that would match the chamber.
As long as we're not
Yeah,
excluding.
I've never heard anybody complain
Yeah.
about that.
About being excluded.
Right.
Huh?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I think that would be okay since we use them on the website, but if you guys wanted us to be safer, we could just link it straight to our website and make their link more visible, but I can check, but I don't think it would be an issue.
Yeah, I think they're pretty inclusive.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, a lot of the boaters that come in, they already have a game plan, like they've researched this
Okay.
place way before they, get here. When they get here, they ask me kinda where is a certain,
Okay.
a certain restaurant and things like that, but I think it would not be a bad thing at all to, put that link on our,
Yeah. That's
on
one
our
of
page.
the really good advantages to using the QR code, is it can send you to an informational source that easily modified.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than putting that information right on the card where it could change, so.
Exactly, and why recreate the wheel? I mean,
Yep.
if the chamber has a full list of everything and they keep that up, let's just be partners.
Exactly. Is there anything else you would like me to focus on, or I can try to get a card, put together so the next time you have a meeting, I can bring a sample of whatever it would look like and you guys can kind of give
Say,
Curtis
Chad?
the green light.
Oh, sorry, Nicole. Chad sneaking through.
Ah,
Can I just interrupt you for a second before Chad escapes?
good try, Chad. Good try.
Just because we have a kind of a marine focus here, it's really not germane to why we're here, and I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, but I just saw Chad. I just was, just the beach renourishment project, which is major. I was just out there yesterday, and I noticed that the Bowditch area is not being renourished right now, and it looks like they started a little further south. Can you just kind of explain to people why that is and where we're headed and how things are going?
Sure, so
Sorry,
good morning,
Mr. Chairman.
Chad Schutz, Town of Fort Myers Beach Environmental Staff. So correct, yeah, we're not gonna renourish Bowditch Park, that's outside of the project area. It is permitted to be renourished, but, number one, Lee County did not want it to be renourished. The reason being is that sand is gonna transport that way, anyways. Number two is we are getting FEMA money for this project, and that is the Cobra Zone, which is, it's an environmental designation similar, it's basically a federal equivalent of the CWA. So the feds don't necessarily want disturbance over there. So it's fairly restrictive in that regard. But we did get the berms put over there, and we will be planning it. So it is not going completely.
I'm not, this is more informational, not being
Yeah.
critical. I
No,
just
no,
think
no,
I think
no,
it's
no,
really
no.
helpful for people, because they see the renourishment starting, but they don't see it starting at the north tip.
Yeah,
They
it's
see it
gonna,
start-
it's
yeah.
gonna get there, and it's just, kind of delaying the infill of Matanzas Pass as well for the Army Corps of Engineers, so they don't have to, dredge that pass as often as well.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. Sorry, Nicole. Sorry, Mr.
You're
Chairman.
welcome.
I just, he sneaks through and you gotta grab him when you can.
Going.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chad.
Question,
sir.
the opening up of the pump out at Snook Bite, has that relieved your load a little?
Yes, it has, and it allows us to focus more on maintenance to the mooring field and also working with code and doing canal visits or I should say inspections of the canals, debris, things of that nature that we can still clean up and make sure the canals are fully accessible.
Anything else for Nicole?
I would also maybe suggest getting with Jackie on the since we're talking about the chamber. I was just looking at their page, and I mean, they list currently 19 mooring systems available for wet storage, which can accommodate 85, so I think there'd be some updating. And then they only link to DACWA, so
Okay.
maybe Jackie could also link to our
To
Facebook
our
page or
yeah,
something maybe, but,
definitely. I will get with her.
yeah. But we
I'll
might wanna help
reach
them
out to her
keep that
today.
active, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
keep it updated.
Anything else?
Thank you, Nicole.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
is that your list?
That is everything I have as of now, right now. So that does complete what I have on my list to share with y'all.
Great.
Advise y'all
Any
right now.
questions for Curtis?
I do. So how are you feeling in general about things?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. We have a full team now, so fully staffed, which I'm thrilled on that. So and my team is great. So
What are your current and upcoming priorities?
so priority number one right now would be I'm doing the dinghy dock right now. Making sure things are in place for that, making sure our pier gets moved, everything's set up for the boaters, that it's an easy transition. That's the biggest project and my biggest concern right now for all that to go smoothly. So next is the maintenance of the balls. That's my for the mooring field specifically. That's my biggest concern, and what I'm focused and my team is focused on is cleaning the balls and getting them ready for the season coming up. So we got a few more months before that happens. So we're kind of full court press kind of on that right now. So
On that subject, are
Yes,
you
sir.
working in coordination with Mark Kincaid?
I am,
or-
yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
and how's that going? Have they been hands-on, or?
They have. I talk to Mark and his staff once a week here as of late, especially with the dinghy dock as well. They're involved in that as well, along with the mooring balls as well. I call him for advice and things like that a lot. So and he helps me out tremendously.
What's going on with the 6 balls that are, you know?
So I have a meeting with Bosun Neal at the Coast Guard station this coming Friday. So I hope to get movement on that. The sector side of things have kind of gone silent right now. So I'm trying to talk with Bosun, get her on board locally, and see if there's something we can arrange moving forward, and then that'll help us fight the battle down the road as sector. So it's not a quick process right now.
What are we trying to achieve? Are you trying to get those inoperable balls back into operation? Where
That's
they're
my
located?
ultimate goal. That's
Okay.
what I would like to do. That's what I think needs to happen. If not, like, give us like half of them, right? Because I think there's a few there that could be in service right now, which I don't think. If I just have to watch what size vessels I put there, right, to impede the channel and things like that. So that's what I'm going to talk to Bosun about and see if we can get somewhere on that level, and then to move forward, to move up the chain.
If we could get those certified, even though we want 50-footers in there, but
Correct.
if we could get the ones that are marginal certified for 30-footers,
Right.
at least when we're full, we could use those.
Well, my biggest concern with that area is I need that to be bigger vessels, right? Because everybody wants that front field, even the vessels that can't fit under the bridge. I mean that can.
Yeah.
They still want to go out there. I'm like, I have to push them through, because I gotta keep at least one or two open just for those last minute reservations, things of that nature. And so getting those balls open for me would be huge. So it's moving a little slower than I've anticipated it to, but I'm still.
If that stalls, Curtis, I mean, I just don't remember, I don't understand, but if that stalls, I mean, is another option just to move them back in a certain amount to get them outside of that channel with the same length? Is it too shallow back in there?
So the problem that we are facing is that there's a seagrass area, a shoal behind that. So we can't move them too much, or we have to be cautious of the vessels draft. Those bigger vessels that have deeper drafts, 6 to 8 feet, we're gonna be running into problems there. They'll be rubbing the bottom and stuff like that. So we don't want that to happen. That could cause damage to their boat, and that's something, that's kind of the hard thing we're facing here. We really don't wanna, because if we did move them, we'd have to get surveyed again and go through the whole entire process again. So trying to stay out of us having to move the balls, and seeing if the Coast Guard can kind of help us out in a different angle for that. So
How far would the channel have to go out to accommodate?
I don't think the channel would have to go out. I just think the green aids need to be put more on the inflection points of the bend of the channel for it to
Like
line up.
maybe an extra marker or something?
Yes, they could put in an alpha marker, which kind of bends it better, or put in a secondary. That's what the Coast Guard calls it, is like a 15 alpha or something like that, which would be a second one, marking the change, I guess. But really, I guess the Coast Guard was concerned of, if they did move those, it would lessen the channel. I don't really foresee that. I feel like the channel would be the same. It would just putting them on the bends of the channel, which would make it more of a straighter line, where the balls would have a lot more room. I mean, it's really not that far of a distance to move them. We're not talking like a big change here at all. So,
So you'll be discussing all those options
I
with
will.
them
I
on
will.
Friday?
Yes, sir.
They're still bringing in big barges, so they're probably thinking every inch counts.
Correct. Yep. So hopefully, the bosun and I can, get to an understanding and agreement, and see if we can move forward on this. My hopes, if I don't right now, if I could get maybe like 2 or 3 back in service, that's a win for me right now. So that's kind of how I'm moving forward and going about that.
Ted, did you have something that you wanted to ask?
I did it.
Did it? Okay. How can we best support you, Curtis? What do you need from us?
As of right now, I'm not too sure. I think after I talk with the bosun, I think that's when I'll know what routes specifically we need to go, and where it's gonna go. Once that happens, then I will get with y'all, and if I need y'all's backing, I will be sure to ask.
Well, I mean, in general, is there anything other, in general that you'd like us to be keeping our eyes on?
I do not have anything that comes to mind at the moment. Maybe that's something I can think about for next meeting and bring.
Anything for Curtis?
At one point here a few months ago, we talked about exploring boatage for upland facilities. Maybe that's more of a question for you. Where are we at?
Well, I'll defer to Curtis in case he knows something I don't know, but in talking with Frankie, I think he is looking at not only that option, but at other options as well, particularly with the Moss Marine dynamic that's fluid at this point, forgive the pun there. But it's, I think, again, Curtis, you've probably talked to Frankie about this as well, but the last time I talked to Frankie, I think the town is looking at a variety of options, so I don't think that's advanced. I think there's some, I don't wanna speak for Frankie, but I think he thinks that as those negotiations with the county progress or digress, I don't sense his optimism there. But that doesn't mean it's been thwarted by any sense of the word, but I think he's looking at a variety of options. Is that fair, Curtis?
That is fair.
Okay, so we're still kind of wide open on that.
I think so.
We are.
And then another one that Curtis, you maybe aren't aware of this, but should ask Chad maybe when he was here, but he talked about setting up a separate taxing district, I believe, for the dredging of the lagoon that at least Sam and I live very close to, on the south end.
That I don't have, I cannot speak on that, because I don't have the information.
That was being researched by our interim town manager, Keith. And I did see Frankie earlier waltz through here. Maybe we'll catch him again, because this is kind of a transit spot, but I
We're
don't
gonna
know
quit
what-
walking through here.
Yeah, we're gonna catch him if he has an orange shirt, so we'll see him, but I don't know the answer to that yet. What
Okay.
the status is on that. I know it was being explored, but where that's at, I don't know.
All right, thank you. That's it, Curtis.
Nothing good, thank you.
I had a question. So we're
Yes.
fully staffed with new hires, so you've got a full crew?
Yes, sir.
And just curious, how many of those are either licensed captains or certified divers?
I got one of them is licensed, is a licensed captain. The other two are working on their license right now. Right now, none of us are certified in diving, so that's why we are looking into maintenance and contracting that out to get us started. We are also looking into getting our dive certs. That's something we are looking into now.
Anybody else for Curtis for the moment? Okay, moving on to member items. John, any member items?
Not this one, Chairman, thank you.
Chris?
I do. I have a couple of things. I just wanted to say that I was sitting out on my beach on July 20th, and a man named Leon came up and started talking to me. Apparently, Leon lives on his boat.
We know Leon.
Yeah, okay. I figured you might know Leon. Very charming man, lovely. But I just wanted to pass on a couple of things that Leon mentioned. First of all, he's overall pleased with our services. He would like to see the derelict boats out of the water. He'd like a porta potty near the dinghy dock. Future 24-hour pump and water. He'd like a dinghy or floating dock at Bowditch, Pink Shell, Snook Bite. So that was, that was Leon's wish list. So apparently, if you all know Leon, maybe you've all heard his wish list before. And then I have one other thing for Vice Mayor Adderholt. With Murph at sort of a transitional period, we've had these conversations about where do they end, where do we begin, what is that defining line? Perhaps is this a time to look at redefining responsibilities and kind of clarifying the roles of Murph versus us? I think Jim Hockett has well stated our purpose, that we're really about transportation, we're about waterways, we're about the bay ecosystem, and we see maybe Murph is more about the beach ecosystem and the wildlife that lives there and those sorts of things. So I know that Murph has a really long description and we kind of have Mooringfield. So I just wonder if now is the time with perhaps, kind of a transition for that committee, if we could, if the town council could think about maybe redefining.
I think it's a great idea. I think it is a great time because it sounds like we'll have significant transition in October. Probably be great after that transition occurs to get the leadership of both Murph and Anchorage Advisory Committee together. I think Ed's question about the various canals and dredging and all the issues that involves, that is a great example of an area that I think actually falls in this camp. Yeah, but at the same time, there's been some discussion that it may fall in another camp. But those are the kind of conversations I think that would be very helpful, because that's a huge issue that Ed just talked about. And it's not just relegated to his area, although that's a priority because that's been long-standing and we've been working on that for a long time. But I think every canal has a challenge now, and I think that broader discussion of a solution, is gonna be a big piece of the puzzle, and I think this committee is in a great position to help try to address that. It will be a thankless task, but it could be a good public policy, for the whole island going forward, particularly since after Hurricane Ian, as everybody knows, those canals were not properly analyzed on a regular basis, which prevented us from getting any FEMA help to have them dredged. And if we do proper analysis and maintenance going forward, that will enhance our ability to get help in the future, should, God forbid, we have another issue. So, I mean, there's a lot of public policy advantages, aside from just making the canals better for everyone and easier to use and properly dredged. There's so many pieces to that puzzle that will be significant. There'll be a lot of public input. But yeah, that's a great example. So to answer your question, yes, I think probably maybe wait till after
Okay.
that transition, if that
Sounds good.
transition occurs in October. I think it's early October, that'll be discussed. And then, well, we could talk, what my item is, it just relates to yours, so I'll just say it now, is that we have a number of folks that have to reapply on this committee, and I encourage you to do so. We love this great committee, great makeup. We also have a vacancy, and so if you all have friends in the business, and when I say the business, in the voting world, who have subject matter knowledge, who would add value to this committee, please encourage them to apply, particularly for that vacancy. I'm hoping all the incumbent members here reapply. But at some point, Curtis, you may want to check with the town clerk. I can't remember the list off my head. Who's up, you all may know, who's up for renewal this cycle? But Sam is.
Have it,
Jim?
have it right here.
Oh, please, go ahead then.
So, Mr. Nash is up, Mr. Hockett, Lawwell, and
And Sam,
Lori, yes.
I've reapplied. Does anybody need information to reapply?
I do.
Have you reapplied yet? No. Okay, we can help you with that.
Sam, I need information too.
Okay, if you wanna stay afterwards, we'll go up front and I'll get you set up with all that information.
Thank you.
I have no reply.
And again, encourage folks who have an interest in voting and experience to particularly for that vacancy that's still out there.
Could you repeat that?
I said I have not reapplied.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe you wanna stick around afterwards, everybody that hasn't, and I'll walk you to Amy or whoever we
Yeah,
need.
Amy would be a great place to go. Yeah.
Just a heads up, I don't believe Amy is in today, so.
But somebody else can
Yeah.
probably give you the sheet to
Yeah.
fill
Yeah,
out.
it's a simple one-page, thing, doesn't require any notary or anything.
You had something to add?
Well, I mean, I kind of, Jim, that is also my item that I was gonna bring up, but I do think it dovetails into this if you don't care, but that was thinking about that example, and this may be way outside of our charter, that, I listened this week and was paying attention to the London Bay and the meeting that came down and all of the residents who had concerns about that, particularly in the canal and the safety of, bringing a large boat into that area and having two-way traffic come back around and turn around. And I was thinking at that time when I saw that, I thought that might be something that, the council, because the LPA and the councils will be voting on this at some stage. Do they need an advisory committee that's made up of a large degree of captains and other people with, concerns and knowledge of that area to kind of investigate that and make a recommendation from an advisory position? If they did, I would argue this is a great committee to, be utilized for something like that, because there is some concern, I think.
I think back to Chris's point, if we can establish more defined jurisdictional guidelines for each of the committees, putting the canals in this entity's orbit would allow us to do something like you suggested, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think the canals have never really been included in any particular orbit, if you will, of jurisdiction, so I think that might be something for us to kind of give some guidance on.
Yeah, and I like the idea of the two committees meeting and leadership or whatever, and just talking through and maybe making a recommendation to the council that here's how we see it, and you guys can make the final decision if you think that's a way to go.
I think it sounds great.
Which really follows Curtis's role. It's Anchorage Advisory and Marine Operations.
Yeah.
That's really just,
Mhm.
makes
Exactly.
perfect sense.
So, Mr. Vice Mayor, we, I think there's a consensus here. We'd like to be involved in the canals, opinions on the canals, also water taxis, if we're gonna implement any of that.
Absolutely.
And all those things that we discussed,
Absolutely.
I think you're aware of all that. As our liaison, you can try to maybe get us included in those discussions. Should we make a motion about that, or is pretty much well-known that we would like to be involved in those
I
areas?
think back to Chris's point, if we could just define the boundaries of each of the two committees in a way that there's, there's not overlap, and try to create a little bit more guidance for folks as to where to go depending on the issue, I think that will address the point you just made, which is a good one.
Okay, I'm done.
Curtis?
I have a question. Sam, you just mentioned about water taxis and things of that nature. Do we have a plethora of water taxis here? Because I know the Morningfield, there was somebody that,
Let me stop you.
okay,
Because it seems like a little nuance, but it's a significant nuance. There's water taxis and then there's water ferries.
okay,
What's being proposed for the island by a private entity is a water ferry service.
okay.
There have been water taxis in the past and that have serviced this island. But this water ferry system could be transformative. I've talked to one of the principals in that group and encouraged them to come here to give us an update. They said the issue's not quite ripe yet to come before the Anchorage Advisory Committee, but they would be happy to do so once they get a little bit more information and get things a little bit more cemented in terms of their business plan.
Understood.
But I think that is because, one of their suggested stops, it's not formalized, just anecdotal, is the Mound House, which is obviously the town's facility. And obviously, we'll want to have them partner well with all of our other facilities. I just think there's a great synergy there. Certainly, given our transportation woes, the town has a public interest in seeing them be successful for so many reasons. But yes, that will be, I'd love to see that be the charge of this committee as well. So I forget what your question was, but
That's, you
Yeah.
pretty much answered
Okay.
it, Mr. Vice Mayor, so, I appreciate that. The Morningfield, I guess there was a water taxi that kinda, the boaters could call and, he would come out, pick them up. It would just prevent them from, if, say, some of my boaters are leaving their boat, for the weekend, going out of town, and not having their dinghy left at our dock all
I
night
think
and that kind of thing.
one of the things
So-
that came up in conversation, can't remember if it was Ed or Jim that brought this up, but the concept, maybe it was John, we discussed the water taxi, but then I think maybe it was John who suggested maybe approaching this entity that's doing the water ferry to see if they could have a side business to do a water taxi to
Correct.
catch people who not only, you've got some folks of means who maybe they missed the ferry and they're willing to pay X to have their taxi come get them because they don't want to wait a half an hour or 45 minutes to the next ferry, or you've got the needs of the mooring field that would need that water taxi as well. And they seemed
Correct.
interested in being part of that process too. So I think that could really be a nice synergy as well for
Okay.
everyone. Because it would help them for people who missed the boat, but it would also help our folks as well and hopefully
Yes.
create a market for them.
Awesome.
Hey, Jim, could you just briefly give the definition of a ferry, keeping a schedule, and a taxi, like on demand?
Yeah, the taxi's on demand, but as I understand the potential for this private entity coming forward with the water ferry, the boats would carry, I think there's a state regulation that incents them to have it be 49 people. And they would potentially have bathrooms on the boat, they would serve beverages on the boat, and they would run a regular schedule. Obviously, they would do, none of this is announced, but I mean, just for theoretical purposes, they do fishtail, snook bite, the Mound House, Moss Marine, Pink Shell, head over to San Carlos Island for a litany of stops, maybe a restaurant, I don't know definitively, but it would be a circular dynamic and come every 45 minutes. And this could be a huge game changer for particularly folks on the south end of the island who can't get north because of traffic. If they could hop on a ferry at the Fishtail Marina and get down to the north end and just have, and then plus it's just a great experience versus sitting in traffic for an hour. It has so many great advantages, and the folks tell me they can make it work as an economic model in the private sector, which would be, and apparently there's some on the East Coast that have been East Coast of Florida that have been very successful. So it's all being discussed and planned by the private entity, and hopefully they'll be able to come forward soon. I think some of it's timed around the recovery of the island as well to make sure, that the market's ready to take advantage of it, but.
Now, Mr. Vice Mayor, now if this plan would have, work out and everything, gets off the ground with it, where would they be operating from or launching out of?
Well, if you look at the most recent Moss Marine proposal, they actually have a terminal for the ferry. I think they'll actually be working and functioning and headquartered on San Carlos Island, as I understand their business model today. But they'll have a litany of stops along our island as well, which will be obviously critical for the whole thing to work, so.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where they are on San Carlos Island, but.
Okay.
So Vice Mayor, your description is very consistent with, I would consider a water ferry. I think what Curtis is talking about and a water ferry couldn't do is service an individual boat
Right.
at a mooring, and that's my definition of water taxi.
The water ferry company would have a separate boat that would do that water taxi function,
Correct.
to your point.
Water taxi, 1-to-1, water ferry, 1-to-many.
And water taxi on demand.
That's right.
And, Vice Mayor, just to, hit on that, there's some things that we could offer as well to kind of help the relationship and things of that nature. Obviously, I'd have to talk with, management, make sure, things are, we could do that, but it's something that we could look into if, the taxi service, you mentioned this thing having restrooms and that kind of thing.
The ferry would have, I don't know whether the taxi would
Okay.
have restrooms.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that might fall into a different
Yeah.
thing, but I was
But
just saying,
nonetheless,
offer
having the
pump outs
town-
and things of that nature if Moss doesn't have a pump out station.
Having the town partner with this entity to have because we all win if this entity is successful. That's certainly, at least my personal opinion as a council person, that we do everything we can to partner with this entity and help them be successful. But yeah, to your point, whatever we could do to partner and be helpful and, because we all win. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Absolutely, agree.
Not to mention parking and traffic and
Yep.
everything else. Anything else for Curtis or members' items?
I was just gonna.
I'm done.
You're just starting.
No, I'm done.
Oh.
No, it's just to you now. Do you have any members' items?
No, I don't have any members' items. Oh, I do have one member item, regarding
And we have people over there.
Go ahead, Sam.
regarding the tier rates and, variable rates. I think length overall doesn't seem to ever work because the length on the title is different from the length on the registration, it's different from the length on the person. When they're talking about their boat, it's always bigger. When they're going to pay, it's always smaller, and, that happens at every marina. However, if we could possibly do a tiered system with the bigger slips and the more, maybe a 3-tiered system or something like that, and keep it fairly simple, charge maybe a little less to be in the back on the east, and obviously more to be on the west side of the bridge.
Okay.
But I'm not sure about the length overall, how everybody feels about that. It just seems like it's very complicated, and, if you have to do them all.
Well, if we do a tiered system, a length overall would have to come into play, right? Because it would have to be for the bigger boats, right? So it would kind of have to, that's why we kind of have looked at it. And
And
like
that-
I said, nothing is set in stone, things might just stay the same right now. We might end up going to a tiered system. All that is still being worked out right now, but, that's kind of what after looking at everything, my suggestion would have been just, I think it would get a lot more complicated with the tiered system or the length of vessels, charging them per foot, right? So I think for where we're at right now, that's why I recommended, the one total price bump, or really, for the daily rate, so.
Okay, I just thought, my opinion was if you do it by the foot, a tiered system based on length would probably
Right.
be okay, but if you do it by the foot, it gets into, complicated, computations.
One of the ways I've seen that done previously is you go away from length overall and go to waterline length defined by the manufacturer. So every model has a defined waterline length.
That we know exactly what it is just by a reference.
I mean, just a thought, I mean, I agree, it gets a little complicated, like you said, you gotta have some, some people gotta be honest, but it seems like the seasons, for us are the biggest, factor. So, to me, I don't really like the idea of raising our rates in off-season because I can look down there and, I mean, unless we're full, then I don't really, from a price elasticity kind of standpoint, I don't think that makes sense. But in the season, we get full, and I think that's when, you could look at a rate change, personally.
Did you have something?
Are you ready for me?
Oh,
Curtis, I was at you opened your request for the dinghy dock construction,
Yes,
and the town's ask of the people bidding was to remove some old concrete sections that are kind of stacked up in the parking lot under the
Correct.
bridge there.
correct.
My question is, if FDOT is taking down the fishing pier, wouldn't those big chunks of concrete be their responsibility?
So those big chunks of concrete are actually the old dinghy dock.
Okay,
So
They
there
were-
are
I
responsibilities.
assume they were connected at one point.
That I'm not sure. It was before my time. I don't know how that really. I've seen a little bit of pictures. I thought that dock laid underneath that pier, and that's how that piece got ripped off, is because the dock,
Went up.
came up under it and sheared that section off. Is from what my understanding is, what I've been told. Now, please do not quote me because I'm not 100% sure. That's just,
No,
what
I was just wondering about that, and, the only other thing I had was, Mr. Adderhold spoke about, the challenges that we're having with dredging right now because maybe the proper maintenance wasn't taking place beforehand. And I'm wondering if we're doing that now, and, who's responsible
I
for it?
believe the town has hired a firm to do an analysis of the canals, so we have the proper documentation, should God forbid something happen again. It's a separate piece of the puzzle than the actual dredging and maintenance.
Right.
But it's the analysis of where we stand, so we can then show FEMA exactly where we were when it hit, and then where we are after the destruction. So the analysis is being done, but we do not, to your point earlier, your question earlier, we do not have a system set up to finance the maintenance dynamic yet.
Right, but we're at least monitoring.
Yes, they are doing the analysis of where each canal is, how much, what the needs are, depths. It's way out of my subject matter
Sure.
expertise, but yeah, they're doing a full analysis that will meet the standards of FEMA going forward.
And then do they report back to the captain here, or?
That's a
I mean,
great question. I assume
It
they'll
should
get
be
the
under his
information.
auspices, I
Yeah.
would think.
Yeah, that's a great question. When that's complete, hopefully, Curtis, you might ask Frankie about that you could report back to the committee here.
yes,
'Cause
absolutely.
I don't know when that analysis will be complete, but I know it's ongoing.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. It is ongoing.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for Curtis or members' items? Would we like to move on to Vice Chairman Chris King? Would you like to lead a session on this, on our,
well, I'm not sure that there's much to talk about. I
did you
mean,
want to
I'm-
give a brief outline and?
Well, we talked about it last time, so that was the, kind of the, premise of thinking about what's now, what's next, what's later, and according to Curtis's priorities, really the two things on his mind are the dinghy dock build,
Yep.
followed by the maintenance of the mooring balls. So I'm not sure that there's a ton to talk about until, Curtis, you maybe bring us a few more of your priorities and we figure out what, what else we can talk about. I would say that maybe for continuing discussion, we put on the agenda to keep talking about is the redefinition of the jurisdictions of MRF and AAC, and then also continue to talk about priorities and where we can be of assistance.
And probably upcoming in the next couple months will be some upland discussions, depending on what council brings to us. And
Really, what town management brings,
So-
hopefully to this committee before council, yeah,
good.
yeah.
And we would welcome any of that and are excited to get working on that when it starts going. Any other member items?
Just addressing what Chris has been mentioning. I know we talked about having specific definition of exactly what the committee wants to define itself as. And I don't think I see that on here, and that may be a task that should be added.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this was really, this page that you're looking at was really just sort of the overall
Right.
explanation, and definitely as we redefine, then we can recreate that.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess
This was a placeholder.
and it's excellent. I'm just thinking about, is there any sort of organized or projected movement to actually redefine what AAC is and what do we need to do to move that forward?
Well, per Vice Mayor Ederholt, after the MRF committee is sort of reassigned, there's going to be some transition in the membership. He suggested that perhaps the leadership of both those committees come together and hash out some projected definitions, maybe with you sitting in and Counselor King, since he is the advisor on that committee, and we can then come back to the full council and say, hey, here's where we think our jurisdictions are. Do you have any issues with that? Does that sound like a plan?
No, ma'am. And actually, I should have picked up on that more clearly.
Okay.
But I do understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I think Vice Mayor understands that we would like to be involved in all the things we've discussed, and I'm sure he'll try to include us as much as possible, along with Councilman King. There's gonna be some overlapping, and I think you know where our interests lie in pretty much everything on the water. Anybody else?
Mr.
Member?
Chairman?
Yes.
Just a parliamentary point here. My calendar has the next meeting on September 16th at 9 o'clock.
That's
With a
correct.
question mark. Is that, are we firm
That's,
on?
yeah, let me just get to that. Is there any public comment?
Oh,
Okay.
Wow.
Councilman King.
Well, John R. King, before I head over to Bay Oaks to do the treadmill and take more abuse from my wife later on, apparently, I just want to share a couple things. First, you talked about reapplying for the committee. All applications for all committees are due by September 19th to Amy Baker, the clerk. So I just wanted to clarify that so people know and don't miss the boat. Ha!
there we go.
The other is personal. Curtis, you were clean shaven 2 months ago, and I'm really jealous. That fills in nicely.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll set the next meeting, was this to accommodate your travel schedule? I can't remember. Oh, no, it was accommodate, that there was something else going on with the meeting room. But our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, September 16th. And that's the third Monday. And subsequent to that, we will be on our new schedule, which will be the fourth Monday. So we have September 16th and then October 28th at 9 a.m. And we should be receiving our minutes a week before that, or I'm sorry, our agenda a week before that. But mark your calendar, September 16th,
16th,
then
and
October 28th, and moving forward, it should be the fourth Monday of every month after that. Any other comments?
So wouldn't, all right, I guess this, because you guys, what is the council schedule for September?
For September, on the 16th, it's open.
Okay.
But on the 23rd, which would be when we normally met, we have a 5 o'clock, 5:01
Okay.
budget hearing, and then with a council meeting to follow.
Okay, okay.
Because you missed that first week because of Labor Day, so you're doing the
Yeah.
second week instead, I think is that what happened?
I think because of the budget, well, we're meeting at night because of the budget. The state statute requires us to meet in the evenings.
Okay.
So we usually meet well, I see your point.
Usually meet the
Yeah.
first Monday and the
So
third
you must be
Monday,
on-
but I'm
There's something with
thinking
conflicts, yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, but, that's confirmed, September 16th,
September
October
16th.
28th.
Right,
And October 28th.
which is not Thursday.
Yeah, I
No,
know that,
no, we're
I
not
know
on
that there
Thursdays
was
anymore. We're
something
moved to
in
Mondays.
conflict to why we moved it to the September
Yeah.
16th one. I don't know exactly.
That wasn't your vacation, that was last month, right? Yeah,
Right,
okay.
right.
We may wanna look at November when we get in there. I mean, if people are traveling, cause that's the week of Thanksgiving,
Right,
Right.
good point.
so.
That's the November meeting would be scheduled for the 25th
Mhm.
of November, which might be challenging. for
I
me.
personally won't be here, but.
That's my birthday,
Oh, well, then I'm gonna come down, in that case.
Then cancel your vacation.
so I'll try to
Cancel your
run
plans, Jim.
We-
I'll try not to start
We
too
definitely
early
wanna
that
meet
day.
on your birthday.
That's right.
But,
Somebody's gotta bring cake.
we'll bring that up next
Okay.
meeting maybe but that is the Monday before Thanksgiving, not the Monday after, so that
Correct.
might be okay with everybody, so maybe everybody check your Thanksgiving plans as we get closer to that.
And the sand sculpture competition is once again and starts November 21st and goes through the 24th. And will end the day before our next meeting in November on the 25th.
And I know you're very excited about
And
that,
that's-
aren't you?
That's at Diamond Head, yes.
Diamond Head.
There's a vicious rumor that Barbara Hill and I will be signing up for the amateur competition.
Okay.
Sand sculpture.
How did that get started?
I don't know, I think there may be an element of truth to it.
And as far as setting next meeting's agenda, I think we'll just keep everything the same. Is there anything to add or delete?
I think we can talk again about moving forward with committee redefinitions and then Curtis's priorities, which I'm assuming you'll do as part of your normal report to us.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
and
do
we can
have
do that under members. I
one
don't
thing
think
to
we-
add under my priorities,
Okay.
and something that I saw on here that raised my attention. I just want you all to be aware of. So, as of to the derelict vessels, right, I've been working on that, mainly with the attorneys here, with the with the town's attorneys. We are working together to get things in place to be able to fight these derelict vessels and be legal to remove them off the field. So I have a meeting with DACWA this week actually to get some information put on DACWA so we're legally so we're legal to be able to move forward to remove derelict vessels, abandoned vessels in the mooring field on our balls, and that's something that I'm also working with Lee County as well.
How about the one that you can hardly see during high tide that's near ball number 30 or something there that's just got a little mast sticking up? It's in the field itself. That one sunken boat?
Oh,
It's-
you're talking about the sunken boat itself. So
Yeah, the
so
sunken
there
boat that's
was
in the
so there
status
was
on that.
there was a sunken boat over there in I think it was around like ball number 58 going into the third field, right? That is gone now. It's been removed. Now we have a second one over there by ball 30. LCSO is aware of it. They told me that they're in works of getting it removed.
It barely shows during high tide.
Correct.
Can we mark that
and-
up a little bit?
Yes, absolutely, and that's something I can reach out to them on for
Just
sure.
some safety balls or something around it, maybe?
Well, I thought that it was already supposed to be gone by now.
Yeah.
From what I talked to them. I actually notified them before it actually completely went down for them to get it, but they have a process of what he told me that he has to go through. He really can't touch it until it actually sinks, which I don't know why that is, but,
Can
but
they-
that's something I will look into.
Yeah, if we can request
this
just to
week.
have it marked perimeter
Absolutely.
maybe. I mean, you could see it, but during high tide, it's only, like maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure with this
couple feet.
blue supermoon, it probably wasn't, but
Yeah.
we were out there Friday on the high tide, and, you could still see its mast
You
in the
could see it a
front.
couple
Yeah,
feet
yeah, I
above.
mean, you could see the whole lettering on the side of the vessel, so, I will, that's something, me and my team have already discussed that, and that's on our radar,
And it's
so.
it's in the field, but it's
It's-
barely out of the channel, it's-
Correct,
it's-
correct.
I'm sorry, Curtis.
Yes, sir.
In reference to derelict vessels, you were talking about DACWA.
Yes.
How do those two connect?
So what we're doing is, we're pretty much revamping our reservation process for DACWA. So, and this is something I'm working with DACWA to see if we are able, to, get it all set up this way, which I think we can. So my goal is to, once a boater puts in a reservation, correct, they'll fill in their dates and all that stuff, but it'll bring them to a prompt with our rules. And they'll have to go down there, click a box, and then it'll prompt them to another page, which it'll be an agreement.
Yep.
Pretty much like a contract. So that way that's pretty much them signing it, right? And agreeing to our terms. So that way we will have the backing to move forward and all that, so I can be in a more legal standpoint moving forward.
So they have to consent to a terms and conditions
Yes, ma'am.
agreement.
Oh, I
Correct.
see.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other comments? Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Jim Hockett, motion, second.
A second?
Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 10:22.
Good meeting.